Okay, I'm going to let LaRoy introduce himself, and he's going to be talking to us about branding and what you do to make yourself known when there's COVID and everything's changed so much. So just go ahead, LaRoy, you can get started.
We'll just spend the entire hour talking about COVID. There's nobody that's not tired of that subject at this point in time, is there? But thanks for inviting me, Jill, and happy to be here and to have this discussion with you guys. My name is LaRoy Kingsley. I'm in Bismarck, North Dakota. I own KK Bold. We are in our 32nd year of business. I started when I was 12, and we've been moving right along. And anyway, as we've reached this year, those of you who don't know, KK Bold is a full service advertising, marketing, public relations company. We specialize in digital media. The online world, of course, has taken over a huge chunk of what we do on a daily basis, as it has with all of you. But happy to be here. We're going to cover a few different subjects today. We'd wanted to talk a little bit about, marketing during an election year. Well, the big wrench that got thrown in, of course, is the pandemic, along with the protests and the civil unrest in the country. So when we combine an election, a pandemic, and the protests and the civil unrest that went on, we really have a daunting trifecta of negativity. And when you're an advertiser or a marketer, making sure and looking for those opportunities to position and to promote your business during those periods of time is very difficult. It's because people are dealing just with an overload of negativity in all of the media that they are being presented with. So we got a little bit of a taste of this back in 2016, 2017. We work with the Standing Rock Nation and, of course, with their Prairie Nights Casino. And in 2016, 2017, we had the No DAPL protests. Everybody can probably remember back to those. During that time, it was about a 6-month period that it lasted, where the primary road to the casino was actually closed by protesters. There was protesters, on the property on a regular basis, and the rest of the community was completely polarized on the opposite side of that. And so that was an election year, and that's why I bring that up. That's as close to anything that what we're going through right now that we've ever experienced. We had an election and a protest, a prolonged protest, and even with that, and we got a good 6 months. We worked with that. We still work with it today. Anytime DAPL is brought up, they see a dip in their business. And so it's something that we deal with, on a regular basis, but nothing could have prepared us for what we're dealing with now. Right now, as communicators, and if we just really focus in on the communication aspect of things, the biggest single issue that we all have and we're all going to deal with if we're representing a business or working for a newspaper or whatever it is misinformation. Misinformation is dominating the landscape. It is a sad reality of the world we live in. And for certain businesses and entities, if you get, sideways of somebody or some group or some affiliation, it can really be a tumultuous experience. The problem is so bad that actually I was trying to read what his title is, but his title is the Director General of the World Health Organization. He actually declared that the COVID-19 epidemic is going through an infodemic. And so he, along with the pandemic, he declared an infodemic due to, all of the misinformation that's out there. I went and checked on that, and just during April and May, or March and April of this of 2020, and just related to one single topic, that being COVID, Facebook alone tagged 90 million different posts for being false information. 90 million, 2-month period. The pandemic was barely a month or two old in our minds. So you can imagine, as this season has gone on, how many more as we entered election year, how many, pieces of false information regarding the election, how many pieces of false information regarding the protests, et cetera. And you start to extrapolate that, and it's mind-numbing, the damage that misinformation is doing, and how important it is for people in our industry and in the communication industry to really be diligent and to really work hard to make sure that excuse me, that we're getting the correct information out to, our consumers, our customers, our clients, our readers, whatever it might be. It's extremely important. It's never been more important in our lifetime. And hopefully this will subside into some type of normalcy, but either way, it's something that we need to be always diligent about, and really work hard to dispel the misinformation and to get the correct stuff out to the public. I'll take you through just a little time period to give you an idea from from our world as a marketing agency and our clients. Our predominant client load is in the entertainment and hospitality industry. I'll kind of, when I'm touching on some of these things, I'll be speaking in a relative term of clients like Medora, clients like the State Fair, Norse Coos Fest, Prairie Nights Casino, etc. The entertainment and hospitality industry, as we all know, has been the one that has been hit, extremely hard, due to all of this. But in a normal year, as we're rolling through October up to January, and we're working with clients and knowing that we're coming into a political year, and we're putting our planning together, the media buying is very important. We have making sure that our clients are, getting their baseline buys placed on for the whole year, so that we're not affected as we come into the second and third quarter leading up to the election in the fourth quarter. And so we're, a lot of that has to do with strategy as far as what media we're going to be utilizing, which, where we're going to be, our emphasis is going to be. And then we start working on messaging, what are the big promotions? What do we have new? What are the opportunities in the marketplace? And we start rolling that into the messaging. And so that was, our normal October, through January as we're moving forward. Very optimistic. We were looking, everybody was really fired up, going to have a great year. The fair was excited. Medora was excited. They had, new opportunities and some new product out there. Norse Coos Fest was geared up with some great entertainment. And everybody was just, it was just a very optimistic tune. If you recall, everybody's so excited to have 2020 on, on everything, and what a great number and what a great year this was going to be. And then the earth collapsed, of course. When we hit on March 11th, I went back and I had sent out an email to all of our clients and changed it up a little bit for each one. But the email basically said, in my words, I believe that this is overhyped. However, in case this, does develop into something or whatever, we need to be prepared. And that was on March 11th, and that went out. And the thing that had struck me that day was I saw that Coachella, which is a huge music festival in California, had canceled already on March 11th. And so since we deal with so much with entertainment and entertainers and things of that nature, I was like, it seemed to be entertainer driven. The reason for the cancellation of Coachella was they were concerned that these big artists were going to back out on them at the last minute, and they were going to be stuck, with this big concert going on, or this big, festival going on, and nobody to play it. And so that's what really, kind of stuck with me on that day. And then, of course, on one other side of it, on the 12th of March, we had our first conversation with Missouri Slope Nursing Home regarding, all of this, and they needing to get information out to the families and the public about, the severity and concerns of nursing homes, because the first big outbreak, of course, was the nursing facility in Washington. And so that was, on a little bit different side, but that was the next day. On the 15th, I believe it was, I had sent the email to the staff after the governor had come out saying he was shutting the schools down. And, everything began to change very rapidly. On the 19th, Norse Coos Fest, which was the first one to pull the plug, realizing that the core of their volunteer group and the core of of their customer base being elderly. They were way out in front of it. And I remember shaking my head saying, it's way too early. It's just way too early. You need to hold on. But they were diligent in it. And when we turned around and we looked at the dates, what Norris Coos Fest was here a couple of weeks ago, or would have been here a couple of weeks ago, and the fact that the state was hitting the spike in our active cases, the hindsight is amazing. On the 20th, so that was the 19th. On the 20th, we started issuing official statements with all of our clients, getting information on their website. This is how we're dealing with it. This is how they plan to address it, et cetera, et cetera. By the 24th, so on the 20th, we're putting out information saying, this is how we're going to deal with the pandemic. On the 24th, the casinos closed. So just 4 days after we just said, oh, it's gonna be okay, come on out, we're ready for you, but, and then 24th, we're closed. So this is how rapidly things are closing. April 1, however, we turned around and we started sitting down with clients, and we were planning reopening programs. Because if you recall, back in the beginning there, the initial shutdown was only going to be a month, maybe 2 months. And so we were already working on reopening campaigns by April 1. Especially for the casinos. The fair had not shut down at that point in time. Different clients, but it was going to be a short-lived thing, and by summer it was going to be gone, and we were all be in great shape. On April 21st, the Medora launched their North Dakota Smart Restart program and made the announcement that they would be moving forward and they would be opening. The plan was at that point to be 30 days late, and they did end up opening on June 26th. I'll get to that. So on May 8th, we went to April 21st, Medora Smart Restart. So Medora is going to restart on May 8th. The fair decides that they're not going to be able to move forward, and so we went through that, set of delivering information for them during that time period. And then on May 29th, the casinos did reopen. Okay. So, and then on June 26th, but on that same day, or right around that exact same day, was when the George Floyd incident happened and the protests began. So this bright, we're reopened, this is so awesome, was just this big cloud of, wow, what's going on in the country. And so developing messaging during that period of time for the, for our clients was, was difficult. You had to be cautious. You had to be, really take into context, what was going on in the world, and, how it was affecting people, and what, the messaging was going to be. The big positive in all of that afterwards, then on June 26th, was when Medora reopened, and we just felt a flood of just kind of a big sigh of relief from the marketplace, and everybody was like, I can't wait to get out to Medora. I can't wait to get out to the Badlands. People were so pent up. And so, Medora, with there being, 30 days out of their season, about, literally a 90-day season. I think it runs about 110 days from beginning to end on a normal basis. They had areas where they exceeded what the expectations were in our goal setting program that we had set up initially, where we exceeded the expectations for the shortened year by 40% in some areas, as high as 60% in other areas. The golf course, Bully Pulpit, actually set a record and beat last year for, the most rounds played. So there was some bright spots, within all of the doom and gloom, and it was, it was great to see. What this taught us, though, and kind of cramming that all together and reminding you of this whirlwind that we all went through, and how rapidly everything was changing, and how it affected this business different than this business, and it all came back to, we'd sit down and go, I wonder what the consumer's thinking. How are they feeling about this? Can you be promotional right now? Can you, really hype things up? How do you approach it? But so you had to sit down and think about it. And what that all came back to was, we kept telling them, after this is done, or as soon as we get, a little blue sky or a little, clear space, we got to do the research. And if there's one thing I want everybody to take away from this today, if you're marketing for a business, you're marketing for an association, you're marketing for anything, research is going to be the key. There is nobody right now that is in the same frame of mind that they were to a specific product or service as they were last year at this time. Okay, it's impossible. Everybody has gone through too much. There's too much of a change in market. They say that it takes people 3 months to develop a habit. So all of the changes that we've made in our daily lives right now, that we started with back in March, are becoming habits and literally change how we're going to do things. And so as a marketer and trying to get people to come out and buy a ticket or to do this or that, the research is going to be the key. I'm going to give you one example of the value of research and how within these times you can find these little nuances, these little gems, these little nuggets within the data and within the information that you can really take advantage of. When Prairie Nights went to reopen, about 2 weeks before they did, I sent them an email and I said, I know this is going to be really hard to swallow, but there's never going to be a better time for you to go smoke free than it is now. And then I just kind of held my breath waiting to hear what they would say. And, it scared the heck out of them. You're talking about a property where probably 60% of their customers smoke, so over 50%. And it's just part of, it's kind of tied into the whole gambling thing. And this was going to be a complete change. So they came back though, and the GM, agreed, and they took it to the gaming commission and to the council, and the timing just seemed to be right. And we made the change to go smoke free on their primary gaming floor. The other part of it is they were going to require masks, and they were going to require checking temperatures. And they were the first, the first group in the state that was doing that. And this was mandated. NIGC, which is National Indian Gaming, had kind of passed down some of these rules to the casinos, and they implemented them. So you're talking about, the Bismarck Mandan is their primary market, but they also have, they're in Fort Yates, North Dakota, and anything from Flasher to Linton to Strasburg. All of a sudden I'm like, you're going to make these guys mask up when they come in? And they're like, yep, they're not coming in without a mask on. Well, at the time, I thought that between going non-smoking and between making people mask up, that it was going to be the kiss of death, that this was just, there was no way that this was going to end well. It would not turn out well for them. But what happened now, as we've reached this period, is the casino is doing extremely well. And one of the reasons for it is when people are looking for an outlet and they're looking for, some type of entertainment, and they want to get out of the house and they want to do something, they're literally looking for the safest venues that they can find. And so since they know when they go to the casino that everybody has to wear a mask and there is no smoking, it became a very safe environment. The casinos also did, a great deal of work putting in, boundaries between the desks and, between the customers and the people serving them. And so we just finished up our first round of research for them as we came off all of that. And we found that we got to advertise the non-smoking thing for about a month and a half, 2 months, excuse me, at that period of time that the research came out. And we found that awareness of the smoke-free change was at 86% in the market, which if you hit 86% of anything within a 2-month period of time, as far as awareness, you've done a good job. But 71% of the people that responded felt that it was a good to very good decision. So where we felt that this would really be something that they would really get beat up on, turned out to be that little gem, that little nugget in the pile that worked, very well for them. The other thing that we learned during that period is because everybody all of a sudden went home, or a large majority of people were working from home, we knew that media habits were going to change. And, we were really conscientious of that. And so we went through and really drilled down into, where are people hearing and seeing the messages? Which ones do they approve? I figured TV would really go up, just due to the fact that people are sitting there at home. They have the TV on in the background 8 hours a day, where they didn't normally. I didn't know about, the online, because people are online at work, they're online at home. Excuse me. But what we did find was that for the first time ever, with our research with Prairie Nights, is that Facebook overtook television as far as the primary place that they're getting the information. And it was followed closely behind by emails, the email blasts, and the website. And so between the primary digital tools that we're utilizing, they overtook the traditional. And although it had been close in the last couple surveys, it had never overtaken it. And so we were able to, really focus on that and take advantage of that, and move dollars around, and it just turned out very well. So research is the one thing I can, I have to preach to you. You got to find out what the market's thinking. You got to find out where the buttons are. You got to find out where the little positives in everything are. So overall, we know, and I'm going to chat here for about 4 or 5 more minutes, and then I know that you wanted to open it up for some questions. Overall, we know that 70% of our clients during that period of time needed to change the way that they were marketing. They needed to change their message. So we worked with, like I said, 70% of our clients and changed their message in some way, shape, or form during that period of time. But we also know that ultimately, as we come through this, basically 100% of them will have to change their message to some degree. And taking advantage of, the information that you have at hand, making sure that you are well equipped with information is going to be the key. I'll touch on 2 other little things. One regarding politics, this being a political year, how candidates campaigned was completely different than what we've ever seen or experienced. Very little door to door, things of that nature. If you've noticed or paying attention, the governor has not had a campaign rally. He has not been out and met with the public. He is not doing a debate. He has run, to this point, I've only seen 1 TV ad. And if you think back to his 2016 effort, he ran, I believe, close to about 20 different ads. And this year it's 1, and he's not speaking on it. So you can see what a difference all of this is, how it's changed the marketplace. Regarding the protests and the civil unrest in America right now, we get a little sheltered from it here in North Dakota. But I say a little, I mean, we're not immune to it. But what I did notice and what we took note of here was, all of the major advertisers, all of a sudden, you saw, they all have ads that have a more diversified group of people that are appearing in them. There'll be, blacks, Hispanics, whites, all within one spot. But they weren't running those ads heavily in markets like ours. Okay. They had those ads, they would run them in Chicago and Seattle and Phoenix and places where it fit the market landscape. But now, I'm seeing those running in our market. And it's just kind of this consciousness thing, or you've seen all of these national advertisers make a change and make a shift. And that's very important as you're moving forward and putting things together. So it's, it's changed those, the way people are doing things, and on a local level and on a regional level here, we need to be cognizant of that fact. And as we're moving forward, I think one of the keys to it is that it doesn't control your business. You control it. You'll see the difference between the ones that have been very successful with it and other entities. I think the NBA is a great example of how they have failed. They've let the movement take control of them rather than taking control of the situation. And it was reflective in the fact that they had the worst ratings, ever, and how, some of the other sports are doing much better. And so how you deal with that situation, there's no right or wrong on it. I guess there is a wrong, but making sure that, for your business and for your entity, that you're controlling the narrative, and you're making sure that you're strong with your brand, and you're standing by it at all times.
Okay, if there's anybody who has any questions or wants to make a comment, you can do that through the chat.
Hey, Sadie.
Give you some time to type in questions. Meanwhile, I'm going to ask you a question about political candidates running for office. For instance, you're not seeing the governor on TV doing advertising. Where are candidates advertising? How do you reach people?
Well, obviously, the governor is running TV. He's just, he has a real limited effort this year, whether or not he feels he's just so out in front, or he doesn't feel it's appropriate because of all the other things that are going on. I'm not sure what the reason for it is. Barack Obama was the one that opened the door, or kicked the door open, for the utilization of social media and websites and emails for marketing a candidacy, and so from where it came from when he first began to where it is now, I mean, the electronic efforts and the efforts on social media, from Facebook to Instagram all the way to TikTok, are astounding. And some of these groups are extremely good at it, and they're reaping the benefits, and you can see when somebody is really weak with their online game. People go to check them out, and just your perception of them is, if their online presence is not strong, and it's not viable, and it's not delivering you the information, and doesn't have the imagery that you're hoping for, that creates that positive image in your brain, you're kind of discounting them just based on the fact that they are not very good at social media. And the ones that are really good at it, you kind of go, it catches your attention. Email marketing, of course, is huge. I still see a lot of direct mail. I think we all do. I value, I question, the value of it. I think they tends to get sensational to a degree. But direct mail obviously have some value, but there's still not going to be anything that's truly going to beat TV when or video, TV and video, I should say, when it comes to developing a brand, creating brand awareness, and name awareness.
Who would you say is doing a really good job in their political social media?
Mm-hmm. In the state or on a
either one? Yeah,
on a national.
If there's someone in the state, but even in nationally.
Without a doubt, the governor's team, as far as their online efforts, are, probably the best in the state. I think, Superintendent Baszler, she's done a good job, with her online presence and continuously cultivating that. The Biden-Harris campaign is way out in front of the Trump campaign when it comes to, their use of social media and their online presence. But sadly enough, a lot of these candidates in the state, and I really wish that the district candidates would really get on board and really make a concerted effort to have a great online presence, because a lot of times when I'm wanting to find out what this person's all about, I go to their website and I read it, but I get more of their personality out of their Facebook page and other things like that. And I just think it's a real key, to what you're doing.
We have a question on the chat from Rob Keller, and he asks, what do you recommend a company do to increase branding if you do not have a budget to hire outside agencies?
Mm-hmm. Well, making sure that you have a really specific agenda of what it is that, where do you want to position? Do you need, if you need to reposition, or you need to establish your position in the marketplace? I think that, a great place to start is with a high-end, production. There's no doubt that the difference between when you see, a really cheaply, poorly done TV ad compared to one that is, has a high amount of polish, has a great presentation, you can spend twice as much on this, on this cheap, poorly produced piece of material, and not get the results out of you would with one that is, really on a high-end basis. Does that mean hiring an outside agency? I don't know necessarily. We work with a number of groups where they just need us for a project or a service here or there, and because they have a very strong internal, marketing team. And nowadays, some of the video production companies, some of the social media people that are freelancing out there, they can come in and get you going and get you set up and get you some great materials without you needing that full-time dedicated agency, there to help you. But the strength of your internal team is going to be, what really dictates that.
Does anybody else have any comments or any questions they want to ask? Here's a question for you. If this pandemic continues, and we had talked a little bit about that continuing at least into the next quarter, how does that affect how you advise people in their communications? Will there be more changes? Do they continue to do what they're doing?
Well, I think that, we'll be moving through that very much like we've just moved through the last 6 months, and that is going to be on a week-to-week and a month-to-month schedule. Just making sure that you're kind of out in front of it and you're ready. You get things in place, and this is what we're doing with a lot of our clients. We're working on projects that we know might not actually ever launch, but it's good to have those things ready, so that if the day comes that you're able to, move quickly. But nobody should stop marketing, during this period of time. If you think about, moving a giant boulder down a hill, once you get it rolling, it's much easier to keep it going. If you stop it, then you got to start pushing again, and you got to push really hard. And so make sure you maintain your marketing effort, even though you have to dial it in or you have to rein it in, or if you're a casino, for example, you don't have any concerts, and so that really changed our promotional aspect for the casinos. We're not running any concert ads, and so how much more can you say about, come down and play a slot machine? So you have to look for, new and unique ways to talk about those products or services. But, don't stop the marketing, but make sure you go back, check all the messaging, check your messaging throughout everything, even in your website. If you go back and read copy that you wrote, that was written 2 years ago and put on there, you might read through it and go, ooh, that feels a little insensitive right now. Maybe we need to address it. And it's those little things that you can do during this period of time to make sure that when you come out, when we come out on the backside, you're really in good shape and you have a very well polished message and presentation.
Mm-hmm. I don't believe anyone is muted. So unless you've muted yourself, you should be able to ask a question as well.
Jill, this is Sarah. I think I'm unmuted because I came in as a panelist because of the way I signed in. But I was just curious if you mentioned who had good social media presence. What makes for good social media presence, whether you're an organization or whether you're a political candidate, and what type of content should people be sharing on social media?
Great question. Engagement related content is the key. And that's what Facebook is looking for. Facebook wants to see that your business or your organization, that the content that you're putting out there is generating engagement. And that, always pushes you up higher within their algorithms. If you're a business in today's age and you're trying to do, a chunk of business on Facebook, as most businesses are, when you look at just your organic feed or your likes, the people that like it, and you put an organic post out there, that post is reaching, some people say 8%, maybe 10% of the total followers that you have. So if you got 1,000 followers on there and you put an organic post out there, just a generic post, they say 8 to 10% of of your people are actually going to see it. So they're forcing the businesses to spend money. And then there, you have the boosted post, and that'll get you up into that 80-90% of your followers are going to get to see it. And then they want, of course, you to advertise, and that's your sponsored pieces where you can, really start targeting. But if you want to grow, that organic following and make sure that things are, that Facebook sees you as a viable advertiser or as a viable business, what they're looking for is engagement. They're looking for likes, they're looking for comments, they're looking for shares. The better that you do in those areas, the better success that you're going to have. So when I talk about engagement, a lot of times it's asking questions, but a lot of times it's, so you can find out what consumer attitudes are and or consumer awareness regarding certain things. A lot of times it's just being informational. The one thing that we found during this period is, everything, not everything, but a large chunk of what we do has switched from promotional to informational. And keeping people really dialed in on exactly what is going on with your business and providing them with as much information as possible, right down to, hours of operation and everything else is key.
Okay. We have a question from Becky Koch from Fargo. Are you able to?
Thanks for the reminder. Website content sensitivity. Is it appropriate?
Yeah, that was from Teresa.
I didn't see the other one.
Maybe Sarah knows how to make this work. When they raise their hand, Sarah?
Can you right click on her in the participant list maybe to unmute her, or?
Let me try.
While you're getting that going.
Okay, I'm allowing you to talk, Becky. Can you do it now?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you recommend? The journalist in me always wants to correct that misinformation, like in our Facebook feeds, and then of course the person comes back and says, "No, you're wrong," and I can put a CDC link or something like that. But how do you recommend that we correct misinformation in our social media feeds? I look at the poor Department of Health, and it's just wrong. They can't keep up. But for those of us who would be able to keep up, do we bother, or are those people so stuck in their ways they're not going to believe anything we say anyway?
It's a great question, Becky. Our attitude and our belief is that we challenge everything. We rebut everything. And we, at least we try. And I'll give you a great example. As we went through the protests, down there, the poor Prairie Knights site, and Prairie Knights had nothing to do with this. They were a neutral location, but they just got pounded every single day. And we literally had to put a team in place where we did 24/7 monitoring. People got the notifications on their phone, and if it was the middle of the night, they had to check it. And we did two different things, and one was we rebutted or commented on everything that we could comment on to provide the correct information, and we blocked and we kicked people out left and right. If they were cussing, if they constantly delivering misinformation, if they were off track or off base in any way, shape, or form, we didn't even flinch. They were gone, they were blocked, and we know this, because these things begin to snowball, and it's what happens with the Department of Health. I feel bad for him. The governor's own stuff right now, he can't say anything. Oh, look at wheat, is green, and everybody would be like, yeah, you're killing us all with COVID, and it's just irrelevant. And so you're going to get a few of those people, and they're going to get the ball rolling for the rest of them. And those people simply, that you don't need them. They're going to be negative Nellies no matter what. And our attitude is that we block them. But if it's misinformation, we rebut it. If it's something that's detrimental to the business or anything else, we block them.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions?
I was going to add to, when it comes to social media, don't do it if you don't have a plan. I mean, just don't do it. It'll be a failure. People will, not look at you in a bright, positive light. And have a plan. Know what it is that you're wanting to achieve. Know what it is that who you're wanting to speak to. What is the purpose, and define that, and then move forward with a real solid plan. And I'm talking about, a laid out month, okay, this is our paid, this is our organic, this is, what it is that we're trying to achieve, and extrapolate that over a quarter or two. It's really hard right now because we don't know what the next 3 months are going to look like. But, have a plan, stick to the plan, be willing to make adjustments on the fly, and do your testing.
There's a question from Brittany Armstrong on chat. You can check it, but I'll read that. It says, now that we are several months into the pandemic, what is a good balance between informational posts on your company's Facebook page versus adding in some sales-focused promotional post while still being sensitive to the pandemic going on?
I think that, people still want to know if there's specials out there, if there's good deals out there, if you have a new product or you have a new service. I think that, there's nothing wrong with promoting that at all. I don't know if there's a proven split between a 50-50 remedy or, issue or what. The organic stuff is needed because that's your touchy-feely. That lets people know, what your personality is about, but you're still there, to sell a product or service, and you can't be afraid of doing that. It's just, making sure that the messaging is sensitive to the marketplace, not whether you do it or not. Yeah, promote. The grocery stores are still running specials on bananas, so we need to stay in that mode.
Are there any other questions? Doing our last call for questions.
I'll just wrap it up with one little comment, that comes back with all of that. Be informative with your customers, do the research, ask questions, find out what they want, what they're looking for, what they need. Keep an upbeat tone. There's enough of the negativity in the world. People will gravitate towards the upbeat tone. And take this time to, prepare promotions and marketing plans for the nuances that are yet to come.
Well, thank you very much. We really enjoyed the information you provided to us, and Chelsea says it was very interesting. Everybody enjoyed hearing from you, so we appreciate your taking the time out of your day to do this. And
Yes,
for
thanks,
those. Yeah, and for those who checked in, there'll be more of these webinars in November, so just watch your emails for those. Thanks, everyone.
Hang tight, everybody.